In general, my SIL is fine. I don't love her, but she's generally not awful. She thinks that everything should revolve around the kids. And that everything that anyone does with her kids is a bonding experience, and those are all so important. If anyone in the family is doing anything, she wants the kids to be involved. Even if we want it to be just adults, she starts guilting us. There are some things that's totally appropriate for. Things like baking cookies. Sure, bring the kids. Building snowmen? Sure. Decorating for Christmas? Okay. But for example, when my husband, her brother, and I were going on a hiking trip, she kept asking us to take the girls, as it would introduce them to the outdoors and be a great bonding experience. We said no. This was our couple time, not family time. She got all stinky about it and even tried to send them over with bags bagged in an attempt to guilt us into it. We mentioned over the holidays that we were going to be building a new addition to our home, and she immediately lit up and said how it would be a great bonding experience if we got the kids involved. Husband shot this down. It's something that he and I are working on, together, to make our home ours. Neither of us wants to have to watch kids with tools and hammers and nails, keep them on track, deal with the whining when they get bored, etc. She kept pushing about how maybe this would inspire her kids to take an interest in building or hands-on work and it'll be a great bonding experience. I said, can you stop with the "it'll be a good bonding experience" every time you want to guilt someone into involving your kids? She got defensive and said that in a normal family people would want to spend time with the kids, it wouldn't be seen as a burden. I said it's not a burden, but brought up our hiking trip as an example and said that it was intended for me and my husband to just hike, fuck outdoors, maybe drink a little in the tent, and relax. She got pissy and was like, well, look at you having all the time in the world to fuck and no time to spend with your family. We do spend time with family. We do spend time with the kids. We have even endured the god-awful family vacation with the kids just to make everyone happy. But we don't have kids. We don't want everything in our life to revolve around kids. SIL is still upset about this and keeps making passive-aggressive remarks about it to anyone who'll pay her attention. AITA for saying that. NTA. If you wanted kids around constantly, you'd have had your own. Seems like she's just looking to get some time away from her own kids by dumping them off on you, assuming she wasn't planning on hiking and helping with home renovations too. NTA. Your SIL is upset because her plan to pawn her kids off on you isn't working. It's a super entitled attitude and you are right, they aren't your kids and you don't need to revolve your life around them. My girlfriend loves to read and she gets really involved with the books she is reading and she usually rants and raves about them. It was never a problem, but about 3 months ago, she started to read a lot of romance novels. This happens at least twice a week. She has started to project things onto me. For instance, if she is mad at someone in the book, she gets mad at me. Some days, she will tell me to not speak to her and criticize me, and I would be wondering what I did wrong and try to talk to her, and she will just leave the room. The next day she will sheepishly tell me that she had been mad about something that happened in the book. She also sometimes gets mad at me and points out something really romantic the lead may have done for the woman, and she gets upset at me for not being that romantic. This is easier to deal with as I just have to be romantic and smooth talk her a bit, which I love to do anyway. Having to figure if it is a real issue or just her being angry about a book is hard, and she gets even more annoyed if I ask her if it is about the book. I have been just ignoring it because I never thought it would be a huge issue. I had a horrible day at work and I was pretty crushed and exhausted. I greeted her and she ignored me, and I asked her if she was actually mad at me or if she was sulking about a book. She told me to fuck off. I wanted to tell her how bad it had been, but I really couldn't after she dismissed me like that. I did, and I decided to just rest and play games as I was really tired and didn't want to cook. I ordered food for us and I was gaming when she asked me if I was making dinner, and I told her I was too tired to cook and hard ordered food. She loves to eat home-cooked food and is not a fan of eating out in general, and she called me lazy. I snapped that maybe one of her imaginary boyfriend could cook for her because I was too tired to do it. She refused to eat the food I delivered and she went to bed hungry, and I feel like such an asshole right now. I feel terrible that I upset her, and I know that I should have dealt with this maturely and not tried to insult her. NTA. That's super unhealthy of her. She's basically living vicariously through the characters in the book and making it your responsibility to navigate handling her mood swings over it. I love to read and I've gotten super emotional over characters, but I've never expected real life to mirror fiction or blamed someone else for what happened in the story. That's just taking it too far. She sounds very immature and unhappy, otherwise she wouldn't be so invested in something that isn't real. People in romance stories are not real and they are unrealistic. She needs help and therapy to figure out what is missing in her life, but she is not ready for a grown-up relationship, and I'd tell her that right now they just are not a match and I'd take a break, maybe forever. My F32 husband M37 has always had a bad relationship with his dad. In 2020 some major dispute happened between them, resulting in my FIL getting a RO against my husband. My husband then hasn't been able to visit his parents' house anymore. His mom would visit us to see her granddaughters, 9 and 7, or take them to visit their grandfather while she babysits. Last week my husband and I had to work and needed MIL to babysit the girl, but she couldn't come to our house, so my husband took the girls to the park so she could pick them up from there and take them to her house. I was at work when MIL called saying she had an emergency and couldn't come to the park to pick up the girls, and my husband wasn't picking up. I kept calling him but no reply till an hour later when he told me he was already at work and left the girls sitting in the park waiting for Mil. I freaked out asking how he left them there unsupervised, but he said he was already late for work and figured his mom would be there in just few minutes to pick them up. I yelled at him that his mom just called saying she couldn't leave home due to an emergency, so the girls were alone at the park. He tried to calm me down, but I left work and drove to the park and found them sitting with a family. I was furious. I took them home and waited for him to get home. I lost my ever-loving shit and $hash on him, yelling that he shouldn't have left the girls alone no matter what his reason was, and he said he thought his mom would be there in a matter of minutes. Besides, the park was full of families and it was in broad daylight and not 10 p.m. I basically chewed him out, calling him neglectful and irresponsible for prioritizing work over his kids' well-being. He actually said I overreacted and was angry at the wrong person and blamed his mom for bailing on him last minute, but I told him to stop using his mom as a scapegoat cause it's pathetic. In response he told me off and went upstairs to check on the girls. That was the last time we talked. He's ever since started avoiding me and only talks to me through the girls, saying stuff like "Daddy couldn't sleep last night cause mommy yelled at him and made him sad," or "Daddy needs an apology to feel better." Acting like I wronged him, and it irked me beyond measure. Edit, RO equals restraining order. NTA, he literally and criminally abandoned your girls in a public park and you are the one he thinks should apologize. And this guy is so unstable that his own father had a RO against him. You need a divorce lawyer yesterday. Do not leave your children alone with this man again. NTA. He does realize kidnapping exists, right? Especially young children who are vulnerable and who aren't being supervised. Hell, I'm a 16-year-old girl and I know better than to leave some young children in a park unattended.